Hello world, it's John Pinto, your roving realtor, bon vivant video blogger, podcaster, home chef over at Housley's Winery Tasting Room on Clinton Street in downtown Napa with my favorite PhD nutritionist, Matt Tryon. How you doing today, Matt?
Sunny and 70 degrees, springtime in Napa. I'm doing okay.
Good, excellent. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. So, number one, 'tis the season. Let's talk a little bit about respiratory health and where that fits into wearable tech, health data, et cetera, et cetera. First of all, we're in allergy season. So, give us a little input on allergies, inflammation. What should people be mindful of, and how will their wearable tech reflect any detrimental effects that pollens and other air pollution is having a negative effect on people?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. The inflammation really, and allergies in particular, are just really this hyper response, like this over reactivity to simple things that enter our system. What most people don't really know and aren't really aware of is that there is a gut lung axis where there is a communication between our gut microbiome and the lungs. And that's interesting because the mucus lining, we never used to think that the lungs had bacteria or viruses or fungi in them, but they can be found actually in this mucus layer that's in that lines sort of the track to the lungs. And that's really important because it communicates with our immune system, and there is this important connection that drives our immune system and our response to that. This kind of goes along with the way that we respond to anything. Our immune system responds as a function of how well our gut microbiome is sitting that particular day.
So, what can our viewers do to protect themselves? I know a lot of allergy sufferers. Fortunately for me, in my entire time on the globe, I've only been negatively affected by allergies maybe 3 times, where the season was a little weird and I was sneezing and coughing and runny nose and all that stuff. But, what can people do, and what can wearable tech do, and the data to help them monitor how they're feeling?
Well, one of the things that you can do really, and it seems counterintuitive, is to really sort of actually watch the kinds of things you're eating and taking care of your gut, because that is what's driving your immune system and drives the immune response, which is essentially the hyper response. Allergies are just a hyper response of your immune system.
Are we talking about minimizing dairy?
We're talking about minimizing dairy. We're talking about not just dairy, but also high inflammatory foods for you. Like sugar can be an inflammatory food. White flour can be an inflammatory food. And that's reflected actually in a glucose monitor. So if you can see that your blood glucose is spiking beyond 30 milligrams a deciliter from its baseline level, you can kind of see that that's really a food that you're highly reactive to. Minimizing that is going to kind of help keep your stress within your body kind of under control and actually help suppress a little bit some of the immune response.
How might that translate to the actual glucose level? What should you try to keep the glucose level below in order to equip yourself to deal with the allergens during allergy season?
Well, in general, everybody's kind of got a different baseline, so you need to figure out what that really is. From a standpoint in terms of food, being able to keep your blood glucose from a meal within 30 mg per deciliter, like between whatever your baseline is, and generally between people, it's anywhere from 80 to 100 could be your baseline for that.
So you want to try to stay as close to 100 as you possibly can.
Ideally.
So you're lean and mean, and you're avoiding anything that's going to spike your blood sugar, including but not limited to unrefined flour, white bread, white flour pasta, sugar, kombucha with all that sugar. So you want to avoid that and just keep your glucose levels low, and that will help you deal with the inflammation that you're getting from the allergens.
Generally speaking, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Because sugar is one of the things that can drastically change your gut microbiome dramatically. And when we talk about like a gut dysbiosis, or what we mean like bad bacteria versus, we just want to balance the good bacteria with bad bacteria. We start raising the amount of bad bacteria, that is what changes the inflammatory response.
We typically talk about what people shouldn't eat. Let's talk a little bit about what they should eat when allergy season is upon us and you have lots of pollens in the air. What should you be focusing on?
Well, I'm going to dispel a rumor here. There's a rumor that local honey can help sort of dissipate like some of the allergy and the allergic response, but there's no truth to that. To me, there's an old wives' tale. In fact, honey is largely fructose, so you're going to get a spike in your insulin and your blood glucose level from honey, whether it's local or whether you get it from some other place around the country or the world. But
Yeah.
some of the things that are extremely helpful for suppressing the inflammation is eating foods that have polyphenols, things that have
Red wine.
yes, resveratrol, things like red wine have resveratrol.
Very good, very good. Red wine
Olive
for breakfast.
oil, things like those kinds of things that have polyphenols that are good for your gut bacteria to produce short chain fatty acids that help suppress the immune system.
So let's go through a little bit of a narrative on what some of those things might be.
Sure.
I would imagine artisanal tea would be good. Just pound the tea. Pu'er tea, green tea, black tea, rooibos tea.
They do have some green tea actually has a lot of epicatechins in it, and those are great polyphenols that kind of help the bacteria in your colon and help suppress the immune system and develop short chain fatty acids.
Okay. How about crushed red pepper?
I love crushed red pepper. Capsaicin is the element in peppers that make it really hot. Capsaicin is an amazing drug. It's not even a drug. It's like a natural molecule that you find in peppers, but it's been shown to do all kinds of things. It helps with weight loss. It actually helps with moving things through your digestive tract, and it also is great. It's a polyphenol itself. It helps the gut and the specific species in the gut to help produce the short chain fatty acids and suppress the immune response.
It helps linguine and clams taste better. It helps cold broccoli salad with a little olive oil, lemon, kosher salt.
Dump it all on.
Yeah.
Dump it
A little chopped garlic is good. Garlic probably is good too, right?
Yeah, I love garlic. Garlic is amazing. Although some people have an allergy to alums, like
Yeah.
onions and garlic and stuff. But I love garlic. I think
In
garlic's-
general, would you say most fruits and vegetables are going to help with inflammation? Or is that an overreach?
it's been an overreach. Not all fruits are created equal. I think berries, specifically things like blueberries and raspberries, have a much different profile because the elements in their skin, and also they contain a lot more fiber than some other fruits, because that's going to suppress actually the glucose response. For example, I get grapefruit is an example. I love grapefruit, but it spikes my glucose really high, and that's because it doesn't really have a lot of fiber, and it has the sugar. But if you have like a blueberry or raspberry, which have fiber in it, it suppresses the glucose response because that fiber doesn't allow the absorption of the glucose.
Would the grapefruit example apply to oranges and mandarins
Yes.
and tangerines too?
Yes.
Okay.
Citrus in general.
Okay. So how about apples and pears?
Apples and pears are pretty good because they have a little bit of fiber in them. Even bananas have a little bit of fiber in them.
Okay. So maybe berries and nuts in general are going to be good for immune response and helping you deal with allergens?
I think so. Yeah. The other fruits that you kind of want to be aware of are the ones that really, and you have to test this for yourself, because everybody kind of has a different response to different foods. Not everybody's going to respond to the same fruits, but in general, having something that has more fiber to it is going to reduce that inflammatory response because it's going to reduce the glucose response.
Okay, so let's talk about some basics. In the summer, especially when there's wildfires, I check AQI before I check the temperature, and also I just changed out my HVA system and told the vendor I was more concerned with having the very best air filters in there. And I have little local filters sprinkled out throughout my house, and we changed the filters